So, Brother Paul, if you could tell us maybe a little bit about what your childhood was like, where you were born, about the times that you were born in, what your school life was like.
I was born in 1933, the first of two children. My parents, John and Gertrude, they married in 1931. My father had gone to law school, actually got a degree for law school, but it was the Depression, and he had to get a real job. So he spent 44 years with the New England Telephone Company. My mother was a homemaker, and as I say, I was born in 1933, was during the Depression, and 2 years later my sister Marion was born. So just the two of us. I went to school when I was 5 years old. I graduated from high school at 17. In fact, I was 16 up until February of my senior year. I went to St. Peter's Grammar School. They have to realize that the world in the 1930s and 1940s was quite different from the world today. Everybody went to church. Everybody. In fact, at 11:30 Mass, not only was there a packed upstairs church, packed downstairs church, but also packed school auditorium, people going to Mass. There were 5 priests in the parish. Monsignor Haviland was the pastor, and then we had 4 curates. Most of the kids went to Catholic school. I got into BC High out of the 8th grade. During the time I was in the 8th grade, I became an altar boy, as many did. I was selected to be in the choir. We had a boys' choir of about 18 kids. I guess I had a pretty good voice. My voice isn't so hard anymore, but I get into plays, grammar school, because I could sing, mostly the singing roles. I was Hansel and Gretel. Remember that as one of the things. So, yeah, that's what I did. And of course, I hung around with the kids in the neighborhood. I was a kind of normal, natural Catholic upbringing. You went into my house and you saw religious art. Not overwhelming, but there was always when you come into the house, there was a picture of the Sacred Heart. In each bedroom there was a crucifix. There was maybe some small object. It was kind of a sacred place. Even I, as a kid, I understood. Every night, the whole family knelt down on our knees to say the rosary, 5 decades of the rosary. And though I wanted to get to Townfield and see a ball game, there was no moving out of the house for any reason. My upbringing was rather typical of other families, This was a kind of spiritual place with the St. Peter's Parish. I went to PCI. I didn't get a scholarship. The 8th grade teacher was always trying to win scholarships to PC High, full scholarships and not scholarships. And I didn't make it, but I got into PC High. The first year at PC High was a disaster for me, because I came down in the middle of the year with something called scarlet fever. It was a contagious disease, which meant you had to be quarantined. I can remember a big a card with a big Q. And that was put in the window next to the front door so that nobody can come in and see me. So I was out of school for 3 weeks, 3.5, maybe 4. When I got over the scarlet fever, was allowed to return to school. I had fallen back tremendously. I guess it was tough love in those days, pull up your socks and get with the program. And I get a little sympathy from teachers. The passing mark at BC High in those days, 1946, was 60. I think I did 60 in everything practical. I didn't fail anything, but I was very, very discouraged. So I decided that I ought to change schools. So I talked it over with my father. Mission High School was in Roxbury. And a lot of my pals from St. Peter's were going to Mission High School. And it was conducted by the Xaverian Brothers. I had no knowledge of the Xaverian Brothers, only through the kids I hung around with. They were always talking about the bros. I guess that's what piqued my interest. My freshman year, as I say, was a disaster. My father said, go to the sophomore year at BCI, and if you don't like it, after 6 months, you can transfer it. I got into the sophomore year, and I had a priest, one of the Jesuit priests. His name is Father John Dustin Kelly. And he was my savior. All the kids liked him because he was tough, but he was very fair, and he was very compassionate. He was very compassionate, but you didn't fool around in his classes. And he taught Greek. I enjoyed going to his class. Now, he taught also religion. So I think he was the one that got me interested in teaching, to being a teacher. I just loved the way he taught. And, you know, it was a new language and a new vocabulary, new letters you had to learn, and so forth and so on. And I kind of began to flourish again. I went into the junior year, and I had a priest by the name of Father Frank Scannell. Now, Father Frank Scannell was always talking about the Xaverian Brothers, although he was a Jesuit. And he talked about the Xaverian Brothers precisely because he had gone to a school that we operated in Somerville called St. Joseph's Grammar School. He was always talking about the wonderful work the Xaverian Brothers did, you know. So that really got me interested in who are these Xaverian Brothers, because my pals, they talked about the brothers, and they really seemed to like the brothers. It seems like on a whim, I decided I think I'm going to go over to Mission High and talk to one of the brothers. I don't know anything about them, but I think I'll go over there. So I don't know where I got the courage to do this, you know. It should have been probably just a thought, a dazzling thought, but I actually went over there and saw him. And that brother was named Brother Ramon, R-A-M-O-N. And he later went back to his family name, Brother Peter Kelly. Well, he was the first Xaverian brother I ever met, and I've often said he's the best Xaverian brother. He walked with a limp because he had polio when he was a youngster, and he had to wear a brace for the rest of his life. He was so full of joy, so full of happiness, so full of enthusiasm. He was the one who guided me into the Xaverian Brothers. I just took a kind of leap in the dark, you know. I didn't know who they were. One of my pals also joined the Xaverian Brothers, but one of my grammar school pals, Tommy Donlin, and Tommy became Brother Bertrand, and he's dead now, but for years he taught here at St. John's High School. He was a gregarious kind of guy. He loved people loved him. But anyway, Tommy and I went off with 33 other young men, some from Kentucky, some from Maryland, many from New York, Massachusetts, and whatnot. And I arrived at Old Point Comfort, Virginia, to begin the mission. When I was at BC High, I was scared to death. The rule was you got to do 3 hours of homework because we had Latin, and you got two marks of Latin composition and Latin literature. Greek composition, Greek literature. English composition, English literature. U.S. history, math. Maybe there were other things, but they expected 3 hours of homework at night. So I had to travel by streetcar and bus to get to BCI from Dorchester. It was I don't know how long it took to get to school and to come home from school, but it was a journey, you know. When I came home from school, it was around 5 o'clock at night. And 3 hours of homework, I had to do that because I was afraid I was going to flunk out. So I didn't get into any activities, although Father Blatchford, who was the track coach, kept telling me I would be terrific at the hurdles, And I said, if I spend time with track and then have to travel by streetcar and train and bus to get home at night in 2-3 hours, I can't do it. So as much as I wanted to do it, I said, I just don't think I could do it. A fellow student, he had a spot in a play. The play was Arsenic and Old Lace. And he was one of the policemen in the play. And so another kid remembered that I had been in plays in grammar school. And they said, I know somebody who could learn 9 lines and take Arthur Klein's plays in the play. So the priest, Father Mulcahy, came up and said, I understand you've been in plays in grammar school. Do you think you can do a policeman in a play? But got 9 lines to say. I said, I think I could do it. And I liked it very much. And I felt very comfortable. And so I stuck with dramatics. Okay, so I was in plays in my junior year, my senior year, and this is vain boasting, I guess, but I won a prize. It wasn't the super prize, but we had a play called Brother Paul. It was made into a movie starring Humphrey Bogart and Edward G. Robinson. And it's about gangsters who hide out in a monastery to avoid the police. Nobody will ever think they're going to the Trappist Monastery in Spencer to find a crook, and he'll play the part of a monk and all that stuff. Anyways, it's a kind of funny play. So I got the part as the novice master. So I had to instruct the crooks. When they came out as a senior, when they came to hand out the prizes, I got the best prize for the best supporting actor prize, which isn't the top prize, but I was thrilled. And I know my parents, my sister were very, very proud of me. Soon after, I went into the Brothers. Did I see a plan for from God? No, I didn't see a plan from God. I think I intuited a plan from God. A friend of mine, his name is Jim Walcott. He's connected with my brother's keeper down in the town of Northeastern. And he said something to me that he put in a little handout that he worked on. And I'd just like to read it. He said, we do not see God's plan by looking ahead. We do not see God's plan by looking ahead. We see God's plan for our lives most clearly in retrospect by looking behind us. So as I look at my life from behind, looking behind, I see God's plan. If I hadn't got the scarlet fever, I would never have become a Xaverian Brother. If I had been a whiz kid in freshman year, I would never have met Father John Dustin Kelly, and I probably wouldn't have taken up teaching. But that's all part of God's plan. So that's about how I became a Xaverian Brother. It's all mysterious. It's all mysterious.
I'm Joe Carpenter, class of 2023.
And I'm Nolan Pace, class of 2024.
And on behalf of the St. John's Network, thank you for watching our interview with Brother Paul. We'd like to thank him for lending us some of his time to share with us his life story.
Additionally, we'd like to thank Brother Paul for giving us some insight into the history of St. John's and the communities built both in the student body and in the Xaverian Brothers. On behalf of everyone involved in this production, we would like to extend a special thank you to Kevin Kwasny for his efforts in directing, producing, and filming this project.
Once again, thank you, and we hope you've enjoyed this St. John's Network production.